Hello everyone, this is Jotto, bringing you the first episode of the Hearthstone Hospital. In this episode, we will be talking about the Druid cards, which need to be changed in some way. These can be good cards, they can be bad cards, they are too good or too bad or just worthless. So yeah, I'll be joined with my partner in crime, Tali.
Hey everyone.
So, leave any feedback you have for this kind of series in the comments below. But as for now, we will be starting with the first of the Druid cards, Moonfire.
So yeah, Moonfire is a zero cost, one damage spell. It's lackluster early game, that's very narrow in its usefulness. The only way this card will be viable would be with spell power minions, but druids generally lack deck space already. So yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Okay. Anyway, so what we were going to change with this card is we essentially make it into Shiv. So one cost, deal one damage, draw a card. Now, the reason this would be better is because it makes your deck space smaller because you play it and you draw something. It's the Novice Engineer effect. It also allows you to use this late game as just a cycle effect, so you can draw multiple cards in one turn. It works better with spell power because you don't use the card up. It helps with ramping because you can ramp and then play the new Moonfire because you have a little bit of extra mana. It helps with the curve. It would just be much more versatile as a spell.
I think you covered pretty much everything there, Jotto.
Okay, Power of the Wild. So, currently it is a 2 mana spell. Choose one, give your minions +1/+1, or summon a 3/2 Panther. Now, the problem with this card is a couple of things. One, there's a flavor problem. Blizzard, come on, flavor police. Why does it summon a beast? Seriously, guys, like, it's not a hunter card. There's no reason for it to be a beast apart from, oh look, it's a panther. Oh yeah, it's a panther. Why can't you make this like a tree or something? We're talking about druids here, not Rexar. Anyway, the other problem with this card is the 3/2 for 2 is, as a blank card, it's just a Bloodfen Raptor. But Bloodfen Raptors, they're designed for arena, not for constructed. And this is designed for constructed, which is meh. So 3/2 for 2 is too weak. And there aren't enough stable early game minions to make the give all your minions +1/+1 that relevant. So you're in a weird position where this card doesn't do much and doesn't really support either way.
Okay, well, we changed it to another choose one card. It's pretty much the same effect, except that we changed it to a 3/3 Treant, which we felt would fit the Druid team a lot better than a Beast. I think this card will actually see play at this point, purely because of the way that Druids are designed. They're very heavily reliant on spells at the moment, but I think in the future that Druids using minions will actually be viable with some of the changes that we actually made. And I'm quite satisfied with this one because of how it turned out, really.
Fair enough. So, Keeper of the Grove.
So it's a 2/4 for 4 with the effect of deal 2 damage or silence the target. Now, we both felt that the effect was too strong for its stats. It's just too hard to kill because of its 4 health.
Yeah, I agree. We agreed that it was okay for the cost, but not for the stats. So what we did was we changed it so that it was a 2/3 instead of a 2/4. By doing this, it gets hit by a lot of the basic removal like Roth and Frostbolt, and it also trades with 2-drops instead of living through everything, and it's just a pain in the neck to deal with, and it's normally a 2-for-1, so now it's just a solid minion, but not completely overpowered.
Yeah, you covered pretty much everything there.
Alright, Nourish. 5 mana spell, choose one, gain 2 mana crystals, or draw 3. We both agreed that the draw 3 was fine. However, the 2 mana crystals, unlike Wild Growth and the way that worked, it gives you full mana crystals, which means you can use them straight away, and because it's 2, it let you curve out with a hero power or a Roth, or some crazy combination with claws and 1-drops or a 2-drop. It let you curve out when ramp spells shouldn't, and that's why we thought it was a little too strong.
So we changed it to 2 empty mana crystals, so you can no longer curve out while ramping. But you pretty much covered why besides that.
Fair enough. So, Mark of Nature.
Mark of Nature is a 3-cost spell that gives a minion 4 attack or 4 health and taunt. Mark of the Wild exists, so it's more reliable for lower cost. The 4 attack didn't accomplish too much, and it was very susceptible to silence because you invested more into it for less effect.
Yeah, the less effect was more of a case of you had to choose and you spent more mana to choose, but then the effect itself didn't really get stronger in any way, so it's just worse overall. So what we decided to do to it was the first complete revamp of a card. Because this thing took a lot of thought. Like, we spent ages on this card. We spent longer on this card than any other card, I think, in the entire game. Like, this thing took like 2 hours to think of. So we ended up redesigning the whole card, and we thought, what does Druid lack? It's early game board position, and they're very susceptible to board wipes as far as aggro Druid goes. So we changed it to 3 cost, choose 1, summon 2 2/2 treants with taunt, so similar to Feral Spirits, but weaker overall. Or give a minion Death Rattle, summon 2 2/2 treants with taunt. Now what this does is it allows you to put the Death Rattle effect on, say, a Knife Juggler, and then when that Knife Juggler dies, it can efficiently trade because you get 2 2/2s, and it can also efficiently combat board wipe. Because you board wipe, and then you're left with 2 2/2 treants with taunt. It was just a versatile spell designed for minion decks. It doesn't really work in spell decks, but it's not designed to.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, Savagery. Now, Savagery currently is 3 mana, deal damage equal to your hero's attack to all enemy minions. The problem with this is it costs too damn much mana. Seriously, this is too much mana. You can't put this much mana on that kind of effect because Blade Flurry exists and it doesn't curve and it takes ages, and Starfall exists and it's just meh. Anyway, it's just, it doesn't curve. Never. So,
The problem with Savagery, even when it was a 2-cost spell, was the free attack after the Bite Savagery or Claw Savagery. And it wasn't really the cost that was the problem with this card, it was the attack. So we changed that, so the hero is unable to attack after using Savagery. Because you would think that, you know, the person would attack first before actually playing this card, but then it's still affected by taunt. So it's not just a free attack after wiping the board.
exactly. Now, on to Wild Growth. Taldi?
Well, Wild Growth is a 2-cost spell that gives you an empty mana crystal. The problem with this card is it takes an entire turn for no immediate benefits. Playing it early would just sacrifice board position.
Yeah, it's the kind of card where Nourish can get away with this because you can also draw 3 cards, so it's either or. But Wild Growth, it was supposed to come down early and just didn't do anything straight away. So what we did was we made it into a full mana crystal, where it's kind of like the old Nourish, but because it's only 1 mana crystal, you can't do as much with it. But the point is, turn 2, you can play this turn 2 and then curve out with a Claw or a Moonfire to kill their 2-drop, so you don't lose as much ground as you would have. So, Roth. Now, Roth is the last spell we are going to talk about out of the Druid. Currently, it is a 2 mana spell with choose 1, deal 3 damage, or deal 1 damage and draw a card, so the Shiv effect. Now, the problem with this card is it was universal removal against all things 3 mana or less, basically. At 3 damage, it dealt with 3 drops and 2 drops. The problem was, when you dealt 1 damage, on turn 4, you could deal 1 damage to something, and then hero power it and kill it if it had 2 health, and you would take some damage, but in exchange, you wouldn't even use a card on it. It was a 1 for 0, essentially. Whereas, with a lot of other 2 mana and 3 mana removal, you have to spend it to actually kill the thing. So that was the problem with Roth. It wasn't the 3 damage, it was the fact that you could cycle it for no real reason.
Now we changed it to just a deal 3 damage. Considering the effect that we changed on Moonfire, we just felt like 3 damage for 2 was baseline. It was good enough. It still deals with the 2 and 3 drops, it's just that you don't have the possibility anymore. So if you want both choices, you'll have to run both cards.
Exactly. Druid of the Claw.
Yeah, so this is a 5-drop. Uh, it's a 4/4 with choose one, either gain charge or 2 health and taunt. Now, the problem with this card isn't the charge. Like, the 4/4 charge is completely fine. It's the 4/6 with taunt. It's more powerful than Fen Creeper, which means it's above the curve, especially because it's more versatile due to the choose one ability.
Exactly. We came to the conclusion that for choose one, you should lose a stat point, not gain a stat point. So what we did was it changed it to 5 cost, choose one, either +1 attack and charge, or +1 health and taunt. So you're thinking, this is weird. But then you made it a 3/4. The idea of this is it's either a 3/5 or a 4/4 with charge. Now, the reason we made it this way is we essentially changed it to losing a stat point from Fen Creeper to gain the ability to get charge. And as we said before, we think the charge is fine. It's unique, it's a good sort of setup, it's fine, but a 3/5 for taunt is just solid. 3/6 is really good for 5, and that's the only option on that card. 4/6, way too strong. So, in conclusion, now the spell side of Druid. The spell side of Druid, we changed it a bit because spell Druid is tier 1 right now. It's not quite as powerful as, rogues and shamans and things like that, but it's up there. And what we essentially did was we stopped the Savagery combos from getting past taunt. It still kills the taunt but doesn't get past it, so you lose a lot of damage there. We also separated Moonfire and Roth. Now, the reason this is a nerf overall is because now they need 4 deck slots to do what just Roth was doing before, so they have to drop a burn spell. And the last thing we changed was Nourish. Nourish can no longer be used to just ramp up into big spells. Now it actually has to be used as a draw engine, which, while many people think it's better in Spell Druid to get a draw engine instead, the ability to ramp up into Cenarius or Ragnaros or something was always something which spell control druids were using as win conditions.
Alright, and with regards to Minion Druid, and more specifically Token Druid, I think the change we made to Mark of Nature will really affect a Minion Druid / Token Druid's gameplay a lot. Because before that, the only thing they had for minions specifically was things like Soul of the Forest as well as Scenarios. But with the new Mark of Nature, I think it will actually give board position to actually use the Soul of the Forest afterwards, which is an interesting concept, which will make it a little bit more reliable in most cases. I also think because of those changes that Scenarios might actually become a win condition, which is, in my opinion, a good thing, because you want classes to have options. And that's pretty much everything about Token Druid, I think.
Fair enough. So, to conclude, basically, I think the way we did it was that Spell Druid is a little less versatile. Minion Druid is an actual deck now, and it could actually work. And I think that's what it would be a good change for Druid, just because it means that their minions are slightly stronger, their spells are slightly less versatile, balances them out in higher tier 2 instead of low tier 1. And that's a good place for a class to be. Slightly too strong is not too bad, but too strong is where the problem arises. And I feel like we've addressed that. But anyway, this has been Jotto and Tali.
Hey guys, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today, Tali. This has been the first time I have ever had another person on a video before. There's a quick round of applause for myself there. But anyway, if you have any feedback on this series, post it in the comments below. If you want to get hold of either me or Tali, I will post the Mana Grind information in the description where you can come on TeamSpeak, you can have a chat to us, blah blah blah, etc. And I will also put a link to my last weekly show in the past. That link will then change to the last Hearthstone Hospital as opposed to the weekly. But this is the first in the series. Super exciting. we'll be doing all of the heroes and then the neutral cards. So stay tuned if you want to look at our opinions. As for now, though, this has been Jotto and Tali, signing off.